Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. So good to have in the studio, longtime friend, longtime colleague, just a cool cat. And that is Drew Moser. He is the executive director of the Lucky Duck Foundation. How you doing, Drew?
I'm good. How are you doing?
It's always good to have my name. See, so when people would always say, have you seen Drew? And we both look, if we're both in the same room together, which Drew you talking about, for God's sake, over here? And my co-host, she just acknowledged today that she gets this, are you a lookalike for Drew Barrymore?
Apparently, or yeah.
I know.
That's
Steve
a good
Green,
call.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone thinks so. That's very good. So
I'll take it.
She'll be officially now
the Drew and Drew.
Drew Fogel. Okay, if you don't mind changing your name on this.
Sure.
So fire away. You got a question for this Drew out of the box?
I do. Talk to me a little bit about your organization and how long you've been there.
Yeah, the Lucky Duck Foundation, our mission is to alleviate the suffering of homelessness throughout San Diego County. And we raise money to fund and implement a whole bunch of tangible programs meant to have a high and immediate impact. Mm-hmm. And our co-founders match all donations up to $1.5 million per year.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so it's awesome people, great board of directors that are very generous and care deeply about results. They don't care about credit, but to give you a few examples of what that group's been able to do and what the Lucky Duck Foundation's been able to do is purchase and install massive industrial tent structures that can go up within months and shelter hundreds of people for literally pennies on the dollar compared to the cost of adding housing, which government loves to talk about doing. Housing's an ideal outcome, but with where homelessness is now, bottom line, we need more immediately available beds. And so through bridge shelters, there's almost 500 people that sleep in those per night that have a warm bed and a roof over their head because of the work of the Lucky Duck Foundation and the great people behind it. And that's just one example of many. But bottom line is we're focused on homelessness throughout San Diego County. Anything we're able to do is through private philanthropy, and we'll put it to work in shelters, employment and job training. We have a cash for trash program that pays people $2 for every bag of trash that they clean up. That's removed over 200 tons of trash from San Diego.
Wow.
And a whole bunch more. It's all based on collaboration and have an immediate impact to alleviate suffering as quickly as possible while also reducing homelessness and helping San Diego County find a better overall approach to how it addresses homelessness.
I mean, this is no small task, right?
Well, it's massive. And one of my longtime colleagues, friends, CEO of Father Joe's Villages, Jim Vargas, worked with me when I was at the UT. I'm not sure if you knew that, Drew. He was in charge of HR for the entire corporation. And, I think in the world of Jim for many different reasons. Do you work closely with Father Joe's?
We work closely with actually Father Joe Carroll.
Yeah, right.
He was...
he's a force. It was a force.
He was a special advisor to our board of directors. Nice. Pat Kilkenny, who co-founded the Lucky Duck Foundation, he and his wife are the ones that match all donations of $1.5 million. Right. Pat used to sit on his board. Right. And before the Lucky Duck days, Father Joe would say, "Hey, Pat, you never come to my meetings, board meetings." Pat was like, "Well, here's the deal, Father. If I work less, that means less money I'm able to make and donate to you. So I can either come to the meetings and donate less, or I can write a bigger check." Father Joe said, "That's all right. Logic. You don't have to come to the meetings."
You work harder.
But real quick, if I can, on Father Joe,
please.
He's had such an impression on our group. He had so much institutional knowledge. He was such a servant leader and saved and changed so many lives. When he was lost several years ago, when we lost him, we created this Father Joe Hustler of the Year. He's known as the Hustler.
Of course
Priest.
He is. Mm-hmm.
So we created a Father Joe Hustler of the Year award to perpetuate his legacy and recognize somebody that really embodies his spirit and ability to go out and impact lives and help them move off the streets and find a brighter path. And so we've done that for several years, and it also comes with a sizable contribution from the Lucky Duck Foundation in honor of Father Joe to that individual's organization, so that they can only increase their impact. But we know Father Joe's Village as well.
Yeah,
they're one of the many organizations in this space, and
Rescue
Beacon
Mission,
Gym
and Alpha.
Yeah,
and listen, everyone is trying to do the right thing. I know you can't open a newspaper. What's left of my favorite newspaper, or watch something and not talk about homelessness in San Diego and this aspect of it. One thing I've always been impressed with the Lucky Duck Foundation, now you with the group and the Kennys, of course, is does Dan Shea work with you guys still?
Oh yeah, he's very close.
Dan's great, longtime community leader, Paradigm Restaurants and all that business, and you guys have a very, very focused mission, and you don't back away from things that you need to get done. I've always been impressed with that aspect of it, and certainly, if the things you think maybe can be done better, you guys are right out there to say that, which I think is great. What is the solution? There's not one, certainly one solution to it, but are we moving in the right direction?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's, we say if there's 5,000 people on the streets, there's 5,000 different stories. So there's no one specific strategy,
right?
That you can, there's no silver bullet, so to speak. What we focus on is providing immediately available beds to the most vulnerable populations on the streets. We're focusing on seniors and youth for this current year. Government loves to talk about we need to add housing, we need to acquire housing. Well, that's at least $500,000 per door.
Right.
And it takes years to...
Why is it so much?
Cost of construction.
Is it really that much?
It often is, yeah. Wow. In a place like San Diego.
Yeah. Okay.
And some people like to talk about Houston, and while they did, X, Y, and Z and added so many, Houston's completely different.
Houston's different than San Diego. Right.
So, but in San Diego, that's why we're focused on bridge shelters. Right. That's why we've advocated that government-owned properties be converted to shelters, because it can be done for literally pennies on the dollar and seconds on the hour compared to the time of adding housing. So it's immediately available beds coupled with a more appropriate level of public safety and enforcement to protect public health, to protect public safety, and to help folks find a brighter path. Addiction is prevalent, unfortunately. And so having those types of treatment centers and opportunities for people is critical, and candidly, they're nowhere near what they need to be in San Diego County. And we'll certainly do our part as philanthropy with our budget, but the amount of resources government is sitting on is significantly more. And so that's where our group tries to hold government accountable in constructive ways that actually moves them forward. I mean, we don't pursue government dollars like so many organizations in this space. We pursue government to do its job, and we have several different ways that we go about doing that. One of them is this Shamrocks and Shipwrecks program that's meant to publicly grade political will and effectiveness.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a long-winded answer to your question. There's no one solution. It really requires a portfolio of solutions, from shelters, from segmenting the population and focusing on youth, focusing on seniors, folks that are truly vulnerable and do not want to be out on the streets and want a brighter path. And then from there, building down to folks that, struggle with addiction, behavioral, mental health issues, et cetera, that require a much higher level of services.
Yeah, we're chatting with Drew Moser. He's the executive director of the Lucky Duck Foundation. I'm Drew Schlosberg. Cloudcast Media, listen to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're now in our 17th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union and broadcast from the Mission Fed studios here in Scripps Ranch. And Mission Fed doing phenomenal things for San Diegans for more than 60 years, joined by my co-host, Kristen Vogel, executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc. Before I turn it over to Kristen, talk a little about Shamrocks and Shipwrecks.
Yeah. Actually, back to your question about solutions.
That's right.
so much of meaningfully addressing homelessness comes down to political will.
Right.
And practical, meaningful steps forward taken in an urgent way that's an efficient use of taxpayer dollars. Shamrocks and Shipwrecks is very much in line with that, in that it's a public scoring system on our website that's meant to grade political will and effectiveness of all San Diego County elected officials and cities. There's 18 cities in San Diego County. The 800-pound gorilla is the city of San Diego, of course.
Right.
But this program is meant to highlight what's working so that those efforts can be replicated.
Right.
Okay, those types of efforts get Shamrocks.
Right.
Inaction, poor use of resources, those get Shipwrecks. And that's meant to identify things that obviously shouldn't happen or areas that should be and can be corrected. Ultimately, it's meant to instigate political will and practical steps forward of elected officials. There's several different Shamrocks we've given that represent good use of taxpayer dollars and urgency to add those immediately available beds. And it oftentimes includes partnering with really effective nonprofit organizations. And if folks want to learn more, there's a whole bunch of detail on our website. But that's what the whole effort is about. It's meant to constructively hold elected officials' feet to the fire, to compel them to move the ball forward in meaningful ways and actually help people instead of just talking about it and printing headlines.
Well, and that's why I always appreciate what you guys did, And listen, you guys, it's all based on your data. It's not on your opinion on something like that.
Good point. I've failed to say that. It's all based on facts. That our group doesn't care who's a Republican, who's a Democrat. We don't care about credit. If the elected officials are taking action, we'll be the first to pat them on the back.
100%.
If the action's not there, the pat on the back might be lower and harder, and we're not afraid to publicly do so. But these awards are based on facts.
Right. I think that's great. When we come back from break, we're going to continue the conversation. Drew Moser, Executive Director of the Lucky Duck Foundation. I'm Drew Schlosberg, Cloudcast Media, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel, Executive Director of Writers Inc. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and we're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 17th year, joined by Drew Moser, Executive Director of the Lucky Duck Foundation, and my co-host, Kristen Fogel. She is Executive Director of San Diego Writers Inc. and beautiful Mission Fed studios here in Scripps Ranch, and Mission Fed continuing to do great things in the community for more than 60 years. Kristen?
Yeah, I'm curious about these populations that you've identified, the youth and the senior population. So do you do this every year as a group, figure out how, or is it several years? Talk to me about how you identify that.
It would have been late 22, we were having the discussion that, speaking globally about addressing homelessness really isn't going anywhere. So we said, let's focus on a couple segments of the population where we think we can move the needle. Youth, as an example, half of the chronically homeless population that you see on the streets, they were homeless as youth. So if you can end kids, if you can help kids move off the streets at that stage of their life, it's like one service provider says, if we can catch those kids while the cement is still wet, you can completely change the trajectory of their lives. It's a short-term fix, but it's also a long-term solve. And there's a whole multitude of other reasons why we're focused on youth, but that's one of them.
Okay.
Seniors, unfortunately, is the largest and the fastest growing segment of the unsheltered homeless population. It's about 30% are over the age of 55, and just about half of them become homeless for the first time in their life.
Wow.
And it's almost purely economic in nature. They're living on a fixed income, and we all know what the cost of housing and inflation is doing. So it's a really bad math equation. There's very little addiction, behavioral health, violent criminal behavior, et cetera, amongst seniors. It's bad economics. Both of those, both youth and seniors, highly vulnerable populations, largely do not want to be on the streets. So we said, let's start there for 2023. We proposed the addition of 500 shelter beds through bridge shelters on city-owned property. Held a press conference, tried to make some noise, to Drew's points earlier about trying to apply some pressure politically. And long story short, the city has taken steps to add their pup tents, or their tents, individual tents, but it's on city-owned property that was not previously used. Is it a step forward? Yes. Could the city have taken a bigger step forward? The answer to that's probably always yes when addressing homelessness. But at least they're moving forward. And now over 100 people are off the streets, and we're told about another 400, 350 or 400 or so more will start to move off in October. And so that's, again, that's the two segments of the population that we're trying to prioritize. That doesn't mean we're not paying attention to veterans or adult males or families, because we do a whole lot in those areas as well. We just said, let's identify those two segments of the population and really prioritize them. And
I mean, with youth, are you partnering with schools at all? How do you do that?
Yeah, all of the above. I'll give you a couple examples.
Yeah, please.
One, Urban Street Angels is a homeless youth center downtown. They serve primarily youth that are aged 18 to 24. A lot of them, unfortunately, graduate out of the foster care system and end up homeless. It's heartbreaking. And they've got about 70 beds downtown. They've got several other beds out in La Mesa. So we help them expand their bed capacity downtown from 50 to 70 beds. Government was involved in that. That was an instance actually where we awarded a Shamrock. It was a great use of government resources to add those beds. But then downstairs, we funded a pizzeria and a print shop that will train and employ homeless youth from Urban Street Angels.
Is this the Timmy's Place?
That's Timmy's Place. Very cool. It was made possible through the Rolf Benerschke Legacy Foundation. Many might know Hall of Famer, Charger Hall of Famer Rolf Benerschke and his wife Mary. Awesome people.
They are.
They said they wanted to make Lucky Duck the beneficiary of their fundraising event. They said, hey, we have this idea. It's sort of far-fetched, but if it's possible to do some type of a cafe concept, we'd love it. And because we work closely with Urban Street Angels and so many other organizations in this space, in the homelessness space, we knew that there was an opening down there at Urban Street Angels, an opportunity to create a social enterprise nonprofit. And so it all came together when we looked at the financials. We study things pretty rigorously before we spend a dime of our money. And everything lined up. It made sense to do it. It opened in May. I just heard that over 18 youth have already been employed there.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
One gal, or actually two gals, have gotten their first full-time jobs. They're now employed full-time there. And when transportation is a barrier for so many youth, all they have to do is come downstairs from Urban Street Angels, walk right next door, and they're at Timmy's Place. So
fantastic. You
can go get a slice of pizza, sandwich, salad, the whole deal. But they also have a catering side of the business, and it's not like 20 or 30 people they can cater. They can do like 1,000 plus events. But there's also a print shop right next door, and within Timmy's Place. And UPAC is the organization that actually operates Timmy's Place. Well, somebody had donated this printer, industrial-sized printer, like $60,000 or $80,000 printer, but they had been paying $6,000 or $8,000 a year to store it because they didn't have a place large enough to fit it. Well, now it is in Timmy's place. Wow. It's up and operational, so they can print, thousands of shirts in a day, largely, merchandise items. And so there's three revenue streams of that business. There's the cafe itself, there's the print shop, then there's the catering business. And it's employing youth who are trying to overcome homelessness. They're in shelter, they're working on their education, but they're getting these, real life practical skills at Timmy's place. So that's just one example of how we're focusing on youth. And sorry, I'm going so long-winded here. I forgot what your question was. I think I was going to give you two examples.
No.
You're obviously very passionate about your work. It's fantastic.
Well, and I'd encourage listeners to go check it out. Yeah. And if you need, 50 shirts, 100 shirts, 10 shirts printed, they can take care of it. If you're catering something or even just having some friends over for dinner, call them up and it's good pizza. It's a unique menu. And last thing I'll say, it's named after Mary and Rolf's son, who overcame homelessness. So it's a real special place. Yeah,
and I think, Kristen, I've known Drew for a long time, and if Drew's involved in something, Hall of Champions, Sports Commission, whatever, and now Lucky Duck, and especially the Kilkennys, and I mentioned Dan Shea's name. These guys are doers. Things are going to happen, and they're going to investigate it. They'll research it. They'll analyze it. And it's just not just to the pants. And it's always been a great team to work with. And I'm not sure if you knew this, Drew, but my business partner, the founder and CEO of Cloudcast Media, Charles Parisi, was on the Father Joe's board for many, many years, and his focus was teen homelessness. That's how we met. He and his daughter. This is wonderful. Soon going to be the number one lawyer in the world. Ava started a thing called did Songs for Shelter. It was a concert for teen homelessness. So many years ago, and there's been different iterations of it, but I know that's a passion of Charles. Of course, us because of working with certainly you and with Jim Vargas. And the thing is, I think what's so important about it is understanding this and the empathy. I always shake my head when people say this, that these people want to be homeless. And I go, can I beam you to the space station Mir and have you never come back to the United States when you say that? Do you hear that stuff?
Yes.
How do you not get all riled up when you hear those idiot comments?
Well,
because you're more subdued than me and you're smarter. That's
well, two things real quick. To your point about doers, that's exactly right. Pat and Stephanie Kilkenny, Dan Shea, but Peter Seid, the owns of Padres, he's very closely involved.
That's right.
He and Dan hold a weekly meeting every single Tuesday.
That's right.
It organizes the private sector to determine what the private sector can do to influence change. They started that meeting in 2016. Tuesday Group has not missed a weekly meeting since then, including all holidays, Christmas Day, New Year's Day. We met on the 4th of July this summer. It really is people that they don't just sit around and talk about it. It's leave the meeting with some action steps and then go out and find a way to get it done. Secondly, the thought of, people they just want to be out on the streets. That's where we say, if there's truth in that, let's start with the folks that want to move off the streets. Unfortunately, there's far too many. So let's help them find a brighter path. And Ken Blanchard, he's a well-known author and leadership expert that actually lives here in San Diego. And he has a saying I think is so true. He says, God didn't create any junk. There's a pearl of goodness inside of every human being. Dig for it and you'll find it. And I think that's wholeheartedly what we believe at the Lucky Duck Foundation, that I think the public might think, well, the homeless, they're not, whatever they might think. But bottom line is that's what we're trying to do, is find pearls of goodness in those folks that are on the streets, give them every opportunity to move off. So as we all have gifts and abilities in life, it's a heck of a lot easier to find those pearls of goodness if they're off the streets. And that's where we try to put a roof over everybody's head as quickly as possible. But that's, I think, I understand your frustration when people say those things.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's so funny you bring up Ken Blanchard, because we had one of his sort of proteges on the show earlier today, Stan Seawich, worked for WD-40, and of course, we know how close those folks are with Ken Blanchard, written books together with him and all this about leadership mainly in this area. But, we just have to, it's amazing how you can accomplish stuff when people are rowing in the same direction.
Yeah.
It sounds so trite, but you've been doing this since 2016, every single Tuesday, and you get so many folks involved in this. I think the key to this, and you've known this because of your career working with nonprofits and now with Lucky Duck, sort of in the DNA of you guys, and Kilkenny's and Seidler and Shea and you and all that business, everybody in between. Anyone can help. You don't need to have Bill Gates' money to do this stuff. Anyone could go in there and be on that boat and start rowing. Any time you can volunteer is critical in that. So, Drew, what's the website? What can our listeners do to help support your efforts?
LuckyDuckFoundation.org, and that's exactly right. We talk about everybody can own their small piece of the puzzle.
Right.
And so if you go to LuckyDuckFoundation.org, there's a button there that says share your luck. That's kind of our mantra. If you feel you've had some good luck and fortune in your life, share that luck with others. If you click on the share your luck button, there's a drop down of a whole bunch of different ways people can get involved. Yes, of course, folks can write a check and make no mistake. That's what makes our wheels go round.
Sure.
But there's several different ways and programs and opportunities for people to get involved and volunteer or join the Be a Friend program or go out and pack and assemble meals. A $1 donation will provide a meal.
That's right.
Something as small as that. So every dollar counts literally. And so LuckyDuckFoundation.org, there's a heck of a lot more information there.
Yeah, and you don't know what's so important about that, because when people say, well, I just don't know what, well, listen, now you got an organization that's going to give you that menu of things, and here's where I can fit in this aspect. Kristen, any final comments for Drew?
I just appreciate what you do. I love this Shamrocks and Shipwrecks thing because it really empowers other people to see what are your elected leaders doing. So I just think it's fantastic, and thanks so much for everything that you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, any other comments, Drew, you want to add?
No, just LuckyDuckFoundation.org. There's so much more information there. We can't cover it all in 30 minutes, but appreciate you having us on and helping us raise awareness of our cause.
Right. And listen, you've been on the show quite a bit, and I'm very grateful for that, because I know you're always so busy on it. Think about bringing in somebody that's benefited from you.
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
And so, or multiple folks, could be youth, could be senior, could be one of each and all this. We have plenty of mics in this. We always like to showcase, that's the street cred. They can talk all they want about it, but here are the people that benefited from it.
Maybe we'll bring in a Father Joe Hustler of the Year.
I would love that. I would. Are you allowed to say who some of them are, or is that on the website?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know if it's on the website. Okay. Heather Lazan, founder and CEO of the Youth Assistance Coalition. Great organization that helps youth come off the streets, get connect to education and employment and so much more. Recognized her 2 years ago, I think would have been the first one, and provided a sizable gift. I think it was a $250,000 contribution to the Youth Assistance Coalition, so they could triple the number of, they could relocate headquarters to a much bigger location and more than triple the number of youth that they could serve. And then Brian Schroetier, who started Cash for Trash, which is the program that pays people $2 for every bag of trash that they clean up. That's done, I think, 200 tons of trash now. He was last year's, and so those are two ideas. And
let's bring them on.
Okay, sounds good.
Drew Moser, always good chatting with you. Drew, the executive director of the Lucky Duck Foundation, joined by my co-host Kristen Fogel, Executive Director, San Diego Writers Inc. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 17th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, who continue to do great things for more than 60 years. We hope you enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.